So we're back with Amanda Kopke from last week. She's telling her story about her amazing story of her career that was cut short because she was exposed to a parasite in Madagascar, and what she's had to deal with all these years since then. And it's tragic that she's had to deal with this way. I mean, I've read some certain legislation in Congress where they try to take care of civilians who deploy to war zones, but it's really lacking. And you'll find out some of those reasons why, and we'll reiterate that today as we talk to Amanda here about this very, very critical thing that we need everyone out there that's listening to reach out to their congressman and send this document that I'll put in the link below on the podcast. If you can't get a hold of it, please get in touch with me, get in touch with Amanda. Be happy to send it to you. And Amanda is certainly happy to talk to any congressman out there that will listen to the story of how she was treated and how she continues to be treated with the conditions that she has gotten from this tragic event. So I want you all out there to help us. We need your help. And I'm calling on anybody that listens to NCIS reports in the field on Spotify or YouTube to please help us with this very critical legislation that Amanda wants proposed, that we can take care of all civilians that deploy to war zones and contingency areas, and that includes places like, West Africa, and some of those places where Amanda told me an interesting story about one of our colleagues that was bitten by a fly that they gave him dengue fever. So that we are exposed to malaria, dengue fever, all these in these really very remote areas of the world. And what we want to talk about today is taking care of those people that do this critical work for the Department of Navy and also for the Department of Defense. I mean, Air Force OSI, Army CID, Army CI, and the rest, in Coast Guard Investigative Service, CGIS. So please, if you're out there, please, I ask you, I plead with you to provide this information to your congressman so that they can get in touch with Amanda and we can get something rolling on this. Amanda, great to have you back today. Please, let's talk a little bit about this and what needs to be done.
Yeah, so first I'll preface this by saying legislative stuff is not my expertise. I was a good trained investigator, so I can research stuff, but I don't know necessarily if changing an existing law, introducing a new law, or an executive order would be the right fix for some of these.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to preface it with that. I've thoroughly and extensively researched all of this stuff, but I'm human. I could have missed something. So the main one is the presumptive causations, toxic exposures, and burn pits. Mm-hmm. I do believe that new legislation being proposed would be the appropriate channel or avenue to rectify the situation. The Department of Labor, if you're OCONUS, which is overseas, and are injured, you are with a specialized unit within Department of Labor. Once you come back CONUS and you're stateside, your case goes back into the general population and just randomly rolls over. So you're always having Groundhog's Day. And generally speaking, from my now 13 years of experience with Department of Labor, the general claims examiners cannot fully grasp combat zone contingency operations, injuries, and exposures that we have. Mm-hmm. And it's reinventing the wheel and it's Groundhog's Day. So I do believe that if we're going to stay under the Department of Labor, that any OCONUS cases for contingency and war zones needs to stay within a specialized unit. Also, there needs to be presumptive causations. And so I think the presumptive causations, burn pits, toxic exposures need to be expanded to cover DoD civilian agents, whether it's NCIS, Air Force OSI, Army CID, Coast Guard Investigative Service, any of those, because we are exposed and trying to prove if we have a latent expression. So years down the road, if we have an expression of a known burn pit or toxic exposure, trying to get that covered through the Department of Labor is literally like an act of Congress, because how can you show that it happened 13 years ago while you were in theater.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit, Amanda, because
Yeah.
you it kind of reiterates some of the things you've gone through. Talk about your your experience by going to the Department of Labor to try and talk about these things. Is you, as we all know, everybody gets a pre-deployment physical and get everything, and it
Yeah.
seems to be like this just, well, it's not tied to this, so it can't be that. And can you talk about that experience of going to the Department of Labor and trying to explain to them why this matters?
Yeah, so my claims examiner now is, I finally got a very, very competent one.
Mhm.
I'm on an appeal, so it's a different claims examiner that handles the appeal. And I kept bringing it up to my claims examiner. I'm like, hey, this is important
Mhm.
because, you know, to be an agent, you can't have heart problems. You can't have any damage in your autonomic nervous system. So
Mhm.
your autonomic nervous system controls things that you can't physically control: your heart rate, your blood pressure, your body temperature control, all of those things. And she understood. She sent it up to the claims examiner that handles the appeal, and they decided it wasn't important. I'm currently, I've had a nightmare of a second opinion. Normally they're one day, one and done. Mine has been going on since December 17th of 2024. And it has just been a complete fight. So I was having issues with getting a hold of people and getting callbacks. I had like 16 requests for callbacks go unanswered. So I drove up to the Dallas district office in April and realized nobody was working in the office. They had no one in the office to take a walk in.
Unbelievable.
So, like, these are the types of roadblocks and hurdles you're gonna hit. I mean, it is what it is. And if you give up, which the system's designed for you to get overwhelmed and quit, then you only have yourself to blame. You have to
Mhm.
stay in the fight and stay with it and be persistent. You know,
Well,
when my case,
everybody that knows you, Amanda, knows how persistent you are and
yep.
how much you're going to fight for the cause,
Yeah.
and that you're stepping up and you're carrying the flag. And anyone out there that's listening to this podcast or watching on YouTube should please go to the link below, take that link, send it to your congressman, and tell them about this story and have them watch this podcast, because I
Yeah.
think we've got to make this process easier. It shouldn't be something where, 25 years from now, because you were exposed to a burn pit, that you should be looking for assistance. Certainly, hopefully you have medical insurance, but you shouldn't have to take care of that. That should be taken
Yeah.
care of by the Veterans Administration or something like this, um, or
Like
the
the
Department of
parasitic
Labor.
illness, it took them 3 years just to accept that. And literally at the beginning of my case, it was every week I was driving to the district office just about and sitting there until someone came out to speak with me, because I was
Mm,
getting nowhere. I was getting the runaround. I was getting this number where everybody was pointing the finger at someone else. And I was like, well, I'll get to the bottom of this one way or the other. And I'd just go sit there until
yeah.
someone would come out and talk to me.
Wow. Well, once again, everyone, Amanda is fighting this battle, and she's basically been doing it alone. We need to help her. We need everyone out there, all retired agents, people who are friends of the show. Please tell this story to your congressman. Get on the phone. Listen, my wife Kathy was was on a legislative um, position with a congressman, and they get calls every day from their constituents, and the constituency ideas, and they have a lot of ideas that get forwarded on that become law. So this is how you do this. Get in touch with your congressman. Let them know about Amanda's condition, and also let them know that civilians, it ain't it ain't what they think it is when a civilian
Yeah.
goes into a war zone. When you're OCONUS, not only a war zone, but when you're OCONUS, and as our agents do, when you're on some island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and you get exposed to what Amanda got exposed to. She, as you can see, she's had to prove it by just persistence. So
Yeah.
please reach out to your congressman.
Yes, the long-term exposures, we're going to start seeing agents with issues with lungs, organs, neurocognitive issues, central nervous system, and autonomic nervous system. And I know that when we start to see that with other agents, they're going to have the fight of their life ahead of them to get coverage.
Well, it's interesting because I did read something on the Department of the DoD website about PTSD, about
Yes.
brain injury issues, things like that. That's something they understand. But when you have something like a parasite or a dengue fever,
Yeah.
it's not always understood by, the bureaucrats in government that, hey, I need help and I need somebody to help me. So this is a perfect opportunity for everybody out there to help not only people like Amanda, but also um, people in future that have to go to war zones or to contingency areas, or those that are in contingency areas right now. As Amanda
Yeah.
said, we've got long-term effects issues that haven't even been explored yet. So this is an opportunity for us to be proactive and take care of this. So.
Yeah, so the other option we have is possibly to amend Public Law 95-202, which is
Mhm,
for the veteran status.
mhm,
If Department of Labor is not the correct fit, which I don't believe it is, but that's an issue bigger than me to try to figure out how to resolve that.
mhm,
So possibly amending Public Law 95-202, or it could be an executive order maybe to
mhm,
remedy. I'm not quite sure how that would work. But I believe the agency, NCIS, endorsed the Vietnam Group's package for
mhm.
veteran status. So this might be something to get the agency involved with, for them to engage with SecNav for an endorsement for coverage, and that might help smooth the road to get the law amended or to get an executive order established so that we have coverage.
Yeah, and so also with that veteran status, this Public Law 9502, which gave veteran status to any agent of NCIS or NIS or of that time serving in the Vietnam War, this would be something that every contingency in war is covered by. And I think that we were talking about this last time, Amanda, but it was the Secretary of the Air Force is
Mhm.
the current I'm placeholder, I guess, but the person that pushes these matters forward or approves
Mhm.
them. So it's something that if you're with the Office of Special Investigations at OSI, it's just something that you guys deal with as well. So take a look at this and see if we can push this through. So.
Yeah, I know that the war zones and contingency operations are listed under executive orders. And so maybe an executive order for DoD personnel serving for deployed might be
Mhm.
the right ramification for that. Again, kind of outside my lane.
Yeah.
So this is what we
It-
need help with, is to figure out what's the best vehicle to get this to completion.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, um, we all love our job as criminal investigators.
Yeah.
We did this job because it wasn't about the money. It was about serving the Department of Navy and Marine Corps with the other services, Army and Air Force. So understand that this is something that happens that we're not, we're not expecting. It's something that's unexpected. And so, but we continue to do the job every day and we don't worry about these things. But then this does happen and something happens like what's happened to Amanda, um, we need action. We need action to take care of this. So I'm hopeful that we can get this done.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we can get some of this stuff resolved. And the last big one is offsets. The Social Security Fairness Act was just passed. Some advocacy groups say it does apply. Social Security is saying that it does not apply.
Mhm,
However, if you have a complex disability case with Social Security, they have to go through manual reviews, which could take months.
mhm,
And it's all dependent on human data entry. So when you are on Social Security disability for a line of duty, certain things have to be input into certain fields. And again, you're at the mercy of whoever's putting the data in as to if it's going to apply to you or not, or if it has to be manually reviewed and your record has to be remedied and fixed at a later point in time. So the other issue with that is DOD or DOL rather, schedule awards are for permanent disability, lost wages are for total disability. They cannot be paid at the same time. They have to be paid one or the other, so consecutively. So if you are a special category like 1811 or a firefighter or any of the special categories for retirement purposes, then I believe that this should be remedied for any line of duty disability that occurred so that it can be paid concurrently and not consecutively. Because ultimately, if you have a severe disability, you won't have the chance then to claim your permanent disability award because you're going to be on total for an extended period of time, potentially
Right.
lifelong.
Mm. Well, you explained that eloquently. So I think that that we this is a time for action. So I'm hopeful
Yeah.
this was helped. Any final thoughts, Amanda, about this?
No, I'd just be eternally grateful for anybody who does want to help and reach out to their congressmen or senators or be an advocate, a vocal advocate to help push this forward because yes, it benefits me and I appreciate it, but it's also for everybody else who has served, because everybody who has served in a contingency or a war zone has been exposed
Mhm.
and may not have effects of it yet, but chances are it will occur at some point in your life, similar to Agent Orange from the
Mhm.
Vietnam group.
Mhm.
And currently we have agents serving overseas, so they're exposed and they would be affected. So this is for a much bigger purpose other than just myself.
Well, Amanda, thanks for talking about this. It's really important. So everybody out there, listen, go to the link, print it out, send it to your congressman or send the link to the congressman, have them get in touch with Amanda, have them get in touch with me. Be happy to kind of, work with Amanda to get this done. But let's all work with Amanda to get this done because this is for all of us. So thanks, Amanda, for talking about this.
Yeah,
And
thanks
I
for
look
having
forward
me.
to